Hey guys, Kevin Estela with Fieldcraft Survival here at Fieldcraft Training on the East Coast in North Carolina. I'm here with my main man, Jon.
How's it going?
And this is Fieldcraft Training presents How to Pick a Sleeping Bag. So, just like last time when we discussed the sleeping pads, we're gonna go through a little bit about each of these different bags, explaining the pros and the cons, explaining what features you may wanna look for. Man, hold on. Coffee. I almost lost it there. This is sponsored by the finest gas station coffee out there. So we're going to talk about some of the features you may want to look for and explain what you're going to expect when you purchase each one of these. We're going to go through the pros and the cons. Again, we're not advocating for one or another, but hopefully helping you find the one that works the best for you. I need my coffee. You should probably take over.
All right, sweet. So basically the first one we're starting with, this is the big old military bag. We borrowed this one from our buddies down at War Dog Surplus. Pete down there is a really good guy. Let us borrow this for the afternoon. This thing, it's really nice. It's really big. It's got a really high denier on the outside of it. So basically you can run this up against rocks and sticks and stuff like that. You're not gonna rip it. The downside to this one is basically packability. This thing, it only gets so small. This material right here, you can only pack it up so much. This is kind of designed to where you give it to an 18-year-old kid and no matter what he lays down on, he's not gonna rip it kind of thing. This is the stuff sack that it goes in. So again, you've got a very thick, heavy duty one. You're not really sitting at the most lightweight on this one. You're kind of getting a little bit more into the thicker guys. But yeah, what else you got to say about this one?
So just like last time, we're going to talk about our personal experience with different bags. I did not use this bag. Again, we're borrowing this from Pete down at War Dogs, but I have used this brand a lot. This is Wiggy's. They make fantastic sleeping bags, moderately priced bags. And for some of you, your first sleeping bag may be a surplus bag because the price is going to be way down. But for that lower price, you are getting a bag that's going to be super durable. You may have to deal with it being not as compressible. Now, the type of insulation that they use in this bag is lamb light, and it's a continuous filament. I've used this sleeping bag in 2006 in the Adirondacks from Wiggy's, where I woke up in a puddle. I stayed warm. My whole bag was completely soaked, but I stayed warm because of the synthetic insulation. Now, that's a talking point right there.
Absolutely.
You have different types of insulation. You have synthetic and natural. Usually, your natural are down, but I'll show you this one shortly. It's made out of wool. And then the synthetics, I mean, you can go with, how many different synthetics are there?
There's a lot. There's like, and it seems like every single company wants to make like their own version too. You've got like Coraloft, you've got Primaloft. And Primaloft, you have different layers to it. They have like the intro one, there's the silver one, and then there's gold as well. But you can really get into the weeds with those.
Yeah, and I think a couple other things we can mention just quickly here before we move on. This is considered technically a mummy bag. Mummy bags, if Jon holds it up that way and I hold it up this way, you can see the taper on it, right, going towards the feet. Our bodies are tapered, so it makes sense that we would carry a mummy bag to maximize the space that we have by minimizing the footprint of the bag. Mummy bags, for some people though, they can be a little tight. And some mummy bags, like your climbing bags, like I know you guys like definitely have like super tight tapers for like you athletic builds, you know, not the North American Yukon. But guys, you can get mummy bags that are technically wide body, and you can also find mummy bags or rectangular bags that have the zipper on the right or the left-hand side. And recently, more and more bags are down the center, which I'll show you in just a bit. And as far as that is concerned, think of it this way. When you wake up in the morning, do you want to reach across your body and unzip this way? Do you want to try to do this thing, which you're going to rip your shoulder out of the socket? Do you want to go this way, or do you want to go right down the center? What's your experience with zippers? Do you have a preference?
I usually will go one side or the other. I don't really like the straight down the middle one because it seems like no matter what, the insides of my sleeping bag will go like this and it'll get hung up and I'll have to pull the sleeping bag material out and kind of work its way down. Whereas if it's on the side, I can kind of roll over to one side and just zzz, get right out of it that way.
Which bag do you want to show next?
I'm going to show this guy right here. So this is the Salsa. This one's going to be by Nemo. So I'm kind of a fanboy when it comes to Nemo stuff. It was one of the highest quality, nicest products that we had in the outdoor store I worked at. So I just kind of weighed it up buy once, cry once, saved up my money and just bought the nicest one I could afford at the time. This one's gonna be a 30-degree bag. So that's basically the temperature range that it works up to. That's the 30 degrees on this guy is considered with a sleeping pad. So if you don't have a sleeping pad, this is more of a 40 to 50 degree bag if you're just sitting just on the ground. This one, it's not quite a mummy shape. It's actually a varied mummy. So what it does is it allows you to have a little bit more room in the middle so that if you're a side sleeper and you want to pull your knees up, it gives you the ability to do that. So you don't have to just sit just like this all night or on your stomach. This one's made out of not a synthetic material, a natural material, which is down. The pros and cons to down are it's a great insulator. It's very packable. The only downside to down is if it gets wet, you're gonna lose all of the insulating properties. It's going to basically clump up and you're gonna be completely out of luck. This uses what's called hydrophobic down, which doesn't mean that it's scared of water. It just means that it will repel water. So basically what they do is they take the down feathers and they dip it in a DWR or some other kind of waterproofing. So it allows the water to not actually soak into the down. So you get the benefits of the down and it being packable and being really insulating, but then you also have it to be water resistant / waterproof as well. Another cool thing that I'll show about this Nemo one is it's got this little front part. It's like a nice little blanket thing. So basically you can tuck yourself into it, or if the wind's whipping, you can pull it up above your head. This one's also got kind of like a helmet kind of style one. So you can put your head in there if it's really, really cold and, cinch down and get pretty warm in there. So this is the stuff sack for it. So it'll fit into here. And we were talking earlier, some of the bags will not want to go into their stuff sacks ever again. As soon as you pull it out in the store, it'll never go back in. This is not one of those bags. This one will go back into this bag. Super duper easy. You don't have to do any kind of, special folds or anything like that. You can literally just take a handful of it, throw it in the top, and just start shoving it in there.
You want to finish stuffing that while I show this one?
Absolutely.
So John's a fanboy of Nemo. I'm a fanboy of Kifaru. I've been a sponsored, outdoorsman from Kifaru since 2006, 2007. So full disclosure, Kifaru and I were like this. With that being said, this is a laundry bag. Just go to Walmart, go to Kmart, Kmart's still around, right?
No, I don't think so. I think
Go to
Kmart's
Walmart,
dead.
Go to Target, or just go on Amazon and get yourself some storage bags like this. This is the best way to store a bag. If you keep a bag compressed up in that little bag that John has, it's going to reduce the efficiency of that bag to warm you. So keep it in this semi-stuffed state, but not fully compressed state, and that'll make sure that you get better longevity out of your bag. So here's this one. This is a negative 20 degree bag. This is my big boy. This is where, if it's really cold, this is what I'm wearing. This is what I'm using. This uses synthetic insulation, and it has that center zipper. Just like John's bag, it does have a hood. And here's a couple things I'll just tell you about sleeping bags while they're fresh in my mind. Caffeine's kicking in. One of the benefits of that center zip is that I can unzip the center of the bag. I can get my hands through it. I can work on my stove, drink hot coffee or whatever, and I don't have to get completely out of the bag. That's one of the cool things with these. I've even known some guys that will go hunting and stay in their bag, and they can shoot from inside their sleeping bag while they're, glassing the hills and whatnot. The other thing is, this is a negative 20 degree bag, but I guarantee there are people out there that will get in this in 0 degree weather and say that they are still cold. All those ratings are highly subjective to your own metabolism. So if you're a really, really warm sleeper, you may be able to get by with, say, a 40 degree bag in 20 degree weather. You have to know you, and you have to know your threshold and your tolerance. So maybe you want to invest in a less expensive, lower cost bag or lower rated bag before you invest in the super expensive one, just so you can learn, what your preferences are. This is one of those wide body bags. So again, you can see how wide that is, all right, in relation to me. I can roll over on my side. I can sleep on my stomach if I have to. One thing I'm going to recommend, and I'm sure, John, you've had this experience, in cold weather, do not put your head all the way in the bag. Think about it. You guys are breathing out moisture. That moisture is going to get into your bag. It's going to decrease the efficiency of that filament to insulate you. So always, always wear a watch cap, sleep with your face exposed, but do not hide your face in that sleeping bag because it's going to make your bag colder and colder the longer you stay in the great outdoors. What else we got?
Sweet. So we'll go to my my really cold boy. This is a negative 30 degree bag. So like you were saying about basically temperatures and the way that our bodies are, designed. If you look at me sideways, I am about as skinny as a person can be, so I freeze. I have literally 2 bags that do it all for me. If I need a sleeping bag, I'll grab that one. If it's gonna be lower than 30 degrees, I'm grabbing this guy every single time. Even the fact that it's negative 30, I can pull some zippers, unzip a little bit, and bleed heat. I hate freezing. If I freeze all night, I just won't sleep. So this is basically kind of one of the baddest ones that Nemo makes. It's a really expensive bag, but it's got all of the bells and whistles. It's got a waterproof footbed down here so that if the water's coming off the sides of your tent and you accidentally put your feet up against it, it's not gonna get it soaking wet. It's got a zipper down the side as well. It's a 2-way zipper so that it can bleed heat. It's got the nice blaze orange on the inside because this is more of like a mountaineering kind of bag for climbing and stuff like that. So if you get lost or in an avalanche, it kind of doubles. So yep, it's also got these what are called thermo gills in the middle of it. It's these guys right here. You can almost barely see them when they're zipped up, but this allows the bag to open up when you're sleeping in it and bleed heat out of the front. So this is basically allowing the bag to be closer to a 0 degree bag as opposed to a negative 30. So if you were getting hot in there, you can, unzip those and allow some heat to bleed out. It's also got a nice little pocket up here for anything small if you need like chapsticks or a lighter or your cell phone or anything like that. If you're anything like me, you'll always put your stuff either in your pockets or in the sleeping bag, and then it'll always end up all the way down here at the end of the night. So you're like, oh, where's my thing? And you're trying to grab it out of there. What Kevin touched on too that I was thinking about, whenever you get into your sleeping bag, make sure that you don't have a lot of layers on. You want to be really, down to almost your boxers and maybe, a shirt, maybe not, You definitely don't want cotton either. Because what cotton will do, we're going to go into layering later on, but with cotton, cotton kills for a reason. Basically what it does is it gets wet, and once it gets wet, it takes a really long time to dry. So if it's up against your skin and you start to sweat in here a little bit, that you'll go from being too hot to being too cold like that. So you'll be in this thing absolutely freezing. You'll probably put your head in there, which Kevin was talking about, which will make it even worse. So you'll end up going down this, this snowball effect of freezing inside of your really nice $30 or negative 30 degree bag that you paid, $900 for.
People are going to call BS because they're going to say that this giant head cannot fit in that sleeping bag. But a couple other real quick tips for, say, like if you're going out with a newbie and you want them to stay warm. Disposable hand warmers, throw them in the sleeping bag. It's an artificial source of heat. It'll slowly warm the bag so their body heat doesn't have to. The other thing, you can always heat up a water bottle and put that in the bag. Just make sure that the lid is on tight so that you don't accidentally open up the lid and burn yourself at night. Now, couple others, last 2 real quick. You may decide that you don't want a sleeping bag, but you want a quilt instead. There are some companies that are no longer putting insulation on the bottom of the bag because you're going to compress it down anyway. What's going to give you the warmth in the sleeping bag is the dead air space that the insulation provides. So many companies are starting to go with like a quilt type of product, which is like a glorified blanket. This, believe it or not, is a natural fiber blanket. It's made from this company, Lucky Sheep, and it's all wool. This is one of those things that I don't go camping. I leave this on my sectional, and I fall asleep on the sectional all the time with this thing. It's so comfortable. But being wool, if this thing gets wet, you're carrying a big, heavy bag with you. So not really the best for backpacking, but it's good for car camping. Last thing that John and I both have experience with, and anyone that served in the military, you probably have something similar. This is a whoopee, and whoopies are probably going to be like your summer weight camping option. But even if you have this in the winter time and you have good clothes on already that you could spend the night in, like hunkered up next to a tree, if you throw on a whoopee, it'll give you like another 10 to 15 degrees in the cold weather. It'll block the wind. And whoopies get like super, super personal. Like,
they do. That's your blankie.
Yeah, like don't touch my canteen. Don't like do the cheap kiss and like try to drink from my canteen. Don't touch my whoopee. I think I've almost lost this whoopee to like 3 ex-girlfriends.
Yep.
Yeah. It's one of those things where they're just so practical and useful. Again, Kafaru product. attached stuff sack so you can't lose it. The Whoopee is really a great option for travel, keeping in your car. All you're trying to do, again, with the Whoopee is just add a little extra comfort to your night. Now imagine if you have a Whoopee and some of those hand warmers, now you have a great emergency overnight option that packs down to about the size of a loaf of bread. Yep. So what else are we missing?
I was basically just gonna show just one more time, just the kind of a visual representation on how to store your bag at home, and then this is when you're actually out on the trail ready to go. So yeah, whenever you have it at home, just leave it like this. Leave it to where it's got plenty of room in it. This allows the loft to basically open up, which is what creates all the warmth inside the insulation. If you have it packed down like this, it's not gonna ruin the bag, it's just not gonna make it as good as it possibly can be. So whenever you're ready to go, you know, pack it up just like this, throw it on your pack, get ready to go. But whenever it's at home, sitting in the garage or whatever, you can leave it just like that.
And last tip from me, this will probably be the last one. We're in a warehouse right now, so I don't mind having this on the ground here. But when I'm out in the field, when I'm stuffing my kit, what I'll do is I'll often have it over my shoulder like this, and then that way it keeps it from dragging in the dirt. Either that, or what I'll do is I'll take my tent, I'll break it all the way down, or I'll put a tarp down, and then I'll put this on the ground, because you don't want to wake up and have that sandpaper effect, you know, chafing you in all your sensitive areas. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So guys, obviously, like we showed you a whole bunch of different sleeping bags. A lot of them are great choices. There are many other great choices that are out there. If you're a car camper, just go to your big box store and start off with something affordable. Go to your Army Navy store, get something that maybe is, you know, has been previously loved.
Clean.
Clean.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Previously loved, but clean love.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you can always upgrade, okay? When you decide to upgrade, instead of just selling it, maybe bring a friend out with you and encourage them to get out in the great outdoors, because there are plenty of nights where you're going to, you know, fall asleep and wake up to these mornings that you can only experience when you get away from the TV and the sofa. So
absolutely.
Guys, we'll be back. We're going to continue with this video series of how to select gear, some things to look forward to. If you have any questions or comments, put them below and we'll be happy to answer them. This is John.
Sweet. Kevin.
And this is Kevin. Until next time, guys.
Thanks, guys.